There's a whole machine that works because everybody does what they're supposed to. I found out I was supposed to be something I didn't like.
Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. And let's start off 2024 strong, eventually, with a review of a request I received on an episode of Live and Wired. Outland. Released in 1981, Outland is what happens when Hollywood realizes that science fiction is in high demand, and studio executives show up at filmmakers' homes, hand them a copy of Alien, and tell them, make something that looks like that. However, while the visual style is undoubtedly inspired by the Ridley Scott classic, the movie isn't trying to be Alien. There's not a single space trucker in sight. There's space miners. And, well, there is a company, but still, it's totally different. And we don't follow a space trucker or space miner anyway, but a space marshal, played by Sean Connery. Stationed on a mining rig on Jupiter's moon Io, a strange string of abnormal behavior leads him to uncover a web of deceit where he must stand alone to do the right thing, as it looks like there's no one for millions of miles who cares if he lives or dies. And you might have also noticed that this story also doesn't even sound like it needs to be science fiction whatsoever. But nevertheless, let's take a look at Outland and see just what science fiction can bring to the table. First of all, ominous, weird space music, while the title of the movie slowly comes into view. This does look awfully familiar. But if that's not enough for you, how about some establishing shots of the mining rig where the movie will be taking place, along with a bunch of text exposition about the various characteristics of the outpost and the planet. We talking an Earth year or a Jupiter year here? Because, it's kind of the difference between 1 and 12. Or are we counting how long it takes for Io to go around Jupiter? Because if that's the case, this movie can be over and done with in 2 days. Yeah, it could be anything by how scientifically accurate half these notes are, but the point is it segues nicely over to bringing the audience down onto Io herself, observing the workers working away at the mining rig, talking about how dang ol' AI is coming for their jobs, and everything seems like a normal everyday shift. Until...
Oh, God. Spiders! Do it! Do it! Do it!
I know there's a saying that it's scarier when you don't see the monster, but just pointing out that usually works best when it's not bright enough that you can clearly see that there ain't nothing there. As his co-workers immediately point out, there ain't no spider. They're on one of those damn boring-ass dead planets. Oh, come to space, see the universe. Yeah, where the fuck's my rover? But as they dismiss his concerns, he becomes feverishly fearful. The phantom arachnid has somehow managed to crawl inside his suit, and he must get it out no matter what! And technically you don't actually burst like a balloon when exposed to a vacuum. But that's a little bit of scientific inaccuracy I'm gonna let slide because that was fucking awesome. So they're gonna have to find someone to cover his shift. In the meantime, let's meet the O'Neills. Carol, played by Kika Markham, son Paul, played by Nicholas Barnes, and of course our lead, William, played by Sean Connery. He's just been transferred to Io and receives updates on the situation via video messages. First of all, Night Watch was nothing, and second, yeah, that guy went nutsos in the butsos and blew his head up. Don't think too much about it, happens every now and again. Some people just can't take the crippling depression of spending all your time on an arid, empty rock. Oh, and in unrelated news, the shuttle tickets your wife asked for are ready to be picked up.
What tickets?
Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds, the nice couple from the bakery. They said they wanted tickets for the weekly shuttle for a friend of theirs, so...
Really gives me confidence the way you answer him while staring into your coffee mug and turning your back to the man. Always able to tell what his wife is thinking, William doesn't pick up on that, but knows she's not happy about being shipped around to a bunch of threadbare outposts in the middle of nowhere, but promises that given time, she'll get used to it, maybe even like it. Anyway, gotta go to work.
I love you.
I love you too.
Man, the way she's looking at him and passionately kissing, you'd think that this would be the last time she's ever gonna see the man. So he heads off for orientation. The big cheese, Shepard, played by Peter Boyle, welcomes him into their little family, along with a little, information. Yeah, they're here to uphold the law, but, I mean, come on, people gotta let loose once in a while. Just let things slide if they need sliding. Don't rock the boat, and everyone's happy, am I right?
Drop by my office. We'll talk some more.
I'll do that.
Which is one of those scenes where everyone is smiling and very hospitable to one another, and you can tell from the subtle body language that they're really telling each other just how far they can shove each other's respective ideas up their own respective asses. Sergeant Montone, played by James Sicking, picks up on it and offers O'Neill a warning. Yeah, Shepard's an asshole, but he's an asshole that can make your life miserable if you don't play by his rules. So keep your head down, your mouth shut, and try not to let his way bother you too much. But that shouldn't be a problem anyway, as long as there isn't any weird stuff going on this outpost. On a totally unrelated note, another miner just decided, hey, I could really get some fresh air about now. So hops into the elevator/airlock without an environment suit, so they can really, decompress. Oh, now that shouldn't be. But even worse, when O'Neill gets home from work, oh, would you look at that? His wife and son are nowhere to be found. Just an empty, dark, cold house. And a goodbye TikTok from the missus. It's not you, Bill. No. It's not me either. It's Paul.
He's a child. He's never set foot on Earth. Never.
And I've never been to Madagascar. You don't see me complaining. But yeah, it's kind of hard to go out and play catch with the kid if the planetary conditions will freeze him, boil him alive, and pelt him into dust in that order. It does kind of ruin the lad's childhood. So they're going to get on that first shuttle out of here. In a week. These things take a while around here. So, that's 2 less characters we got to keep track of. It's back to work. Just another normal day on Io.
Nelson, we're talking about nuclear detonators. You just don't lose them and then find them. You lose your comb and then find it, not detonators.
Seriously, that was just a bit of flavor text to fill out the world. It doesn't have anything to do with anything remotely important whatsoever. What does is the guy who went out without a suit and splattered himself all over the inside of the elevator. Word is, it's a suicide, but O'Neill is unconvinced.
Did he leave a note?
None that we know of, sir.
Then how do you know it was a suicide?
Or do you guys even leave notes anymore? Is everything done via FaceTime? The rest of the marshals aren't at all bothered by another worker deciding to take themselves out in gloriously gruesome fashion, but O'Neill wants to get to the bottom of this, and as such, heads down to the Medbay where we are introduced to Dr. Lazarus, played by Francis Sternhagen.
Are you Dr. Lazarus?
Yes, take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning. That's a doctor joke. Are you the new marshal?
Who is a bit, abrasive, but compared to the weather outside, she's a goddamn ray of sunshine. O'Neill is here to ask her about the strange occurrences where workers kill themselves in absolutely glorious practical effects. Dr. Lazarus rebukes that it's not strange at all. People have been doing that out of here plenty. Just about every week there's someone else deleting their save file. Something about the endless nothingness of this planet. Nobody likes it, some like it even less. But that doesn't mean O'Neill is done with her. She can itemize all these strange, common occurrences for him.
I'd like it really soon, or I might just kick your nasty ass all over this room. That's a martial joke.
A bit dark, but it did get a chuckle out of me. But what could be causing the miners to lose their marbles? Well, for one thing, they're doing drugs! But if O'Neill wants to feel any better, he's going to have to rely on an emotional support coworker, Montone. He brings food and understanding. You see, he too had a family. Until the wife decided to say fuck it and leave, found some hotshot computer programmer.
I have 2 daughters. They call a programmer daddy.
Nerd! Point is, he's got experience in this very field and can offer O'Neill some advice.
You know, the hookers here are nice.
3 out of 5. They do the job, but it's hardly creative. Where's the 0G? I want some creativity out of my space hookers. And it's a good thing he established that, as when he leaves, O'Neill can get an emergency call about how one of the miners has suddenly taken one of those recently confirmed to exist hookers hostage. The man is screaming and telling them that he will kill her if they dare open the door. So O'Neill hatches a plan. Montone can sneak in through the handy-dandy man-sized air vents all space stations come equipped with, while O'Neill calmly talks the man down from the door, giving him full warning that yes, he is going to open it, and no, nobody is going to get hurt.
1.
See? After a chest full of triple aught, he hits the floor way too fast for him to have felt any pain in the entire thing. But this is far more convenient than it looks at first glance. See? Not only does the injured woman give O'Neill an excuse to head down to the Medbay and check in with Dr. Lazarus again, but the fact that Montone straight up 86'd the perp means that O'Neill wants to see the body, only to discover the company denies autopsies, instead storing them to be jettisoned off in the next shuttle. Also, hey, while it's nearly 5 people going nutsos in the butsos per month over the last year, the data gets a bit strange if you go far enough back.
You want to know how many in the 6 months before that? 2.
Are you sure?
I'm unpleasant. I'm not stupid. Of course I'm sure I can count.
I'm just saying, those two things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. But as luck would have it, not only do the shuttles only go out once per week, but it just so happens there's no one guarding the place. Not even to notice O'Neill heading down to the cargo base to question it. Soon enough, he finds the poor bastard Montone took out, gets himself a blood sample, and calls up Lazarus like, "Hey, Lazarus, listen, I need you to test some blood right this second. I want to know everything you can find out from this sample."
This blood is from a dead person.
Very good.
At the very least, that rules him out coming back during Act 3. Unless this is Resident Evil in space. But beyond basic biochemistry, they do discover a mysterious molecule. Trying to pin down exactly what it is proves to be difficult, however, as Lazarus here ain't on Isle because she's loaded with advanced skills in high demand, but with enough finagling, boom, she manages to decode it.
Polydichloroethhamol. Those stupid bastards are taking polydichloroethhamol.
A drug so dangerous, it's entirely made up. The only other place I could find anything with the same name is Terminator 2 as a highly explosive chemical. So it's got some kick to it at least. It also turns out the stuff is very expensive and very rare. Impossible to be made on Io. It must be coming in on the shuttles. But O'Neill begins to connect the dots. No autopsies means no one ever finds out, but the drug increases productivity, increasing profit at the mere cost of human lives. But if the drugs are being distributed, that must mean they are being dealed. So O'Neill checks the employee records for anyone who has at least 5 years of experience dealing drugs. This narrows it down to Spota, played by Mark Boyle, and Yario, played by Richard Hannett. So, observing the handy-dandy CCTV set they got down there, he keeps track of them. But what's this? He also spots Montone schmoozing up to Shepard. Whatever shall he do?
Gonna tell me about it?
Tell you about what?
Shepard!
Just confront the man about it straight up. Everyone else has their secret agendas on this moon, but O'Neill is an open book. At the very least, Montone respects his openness and confesses everything. Yeah, he knows about the drugs and the link to the deaths, and oh yes, he is absolutely being paid off by Shepard to keep things hush-hush. But O'Neill intends to blow the lid off this whole operation.
You want me to resign? No. Just don't come between Shepard and me. Just keep taking your money and looking the other way.
Listen, bud, it's not good what you're doing, but no one's watching this movie just so they can see me take out some low-level goon before getting fired. So let's watch him bust a low-level henchman. Watching the surveillance cameras, O'Neill spots Spota doing the daily deals, and a chase ensues through various sets and many a long space hallway, eventually reaching the kitchen where Spota tries to get rid of the contraband in a convenient stew, but that ingredient will not be allowed to remain secret. Anyway, now that he's cornered, O'Neill has no problem arresting him, where he is left to the torturous state of zero-G confinement.
How much does Shepard pay you for selling the stuff?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know, you're gonna love being here. Though most people start to go a little crazy at night. You can't feel the floor.
I don't know. I mean, I've never been in zero-G myself, but it sounds pretty comfortable. Like a great weight has been lifted off your shoulders. The point is, Spota ain't saying nothing, so O'Neill's gonna leave him in there to simmer for a while. Nobody is to speak with him until he gets back. But in the meantime, he can pay a visit to Shepard over here. And he's not stupid. It's very clear what O'Neill is doing, and pretty obvious that he's got Shepard in his sights.
If this hero routine is to get your price up, I'll think about it. What are you after?
You.
Oh, God. Have I been wrong all this time and this movie is secretly a romantic comedy? But Shepard ain't intimidated in the slightest. If O'Neill was some action hero with a sterling service record, The company wouldn't have shipped him out to a shithole like Io, but O'Neill sticks to his guns. He will arrest Shepard. Later. First gotta get all that incriminating evidence out of his key witness / suspect.
All right, tough guy, time to talk.
But someone killed him in his holding cell, cutting his oxygen tube. And it turns out it wasn't just 0G, but 0 atmosphere, causing him to explode. And it also means that jail cell was just really dangerous from the get-go. You know, maybe he wasn't killed. Probably these accidents happen relatively frequently too. With no time to spare, O'Neill rushes to Montone to get to the bottom of this. There's a thing about old Montone right now. He's, I believe the technical term is fucking dead. But before Montone befell such a fate, he did just so happen to leave a handy-dandy encrypted note for O'Neill. How convenient! Just one clue, food shipment. Fortunately, despite the size of this outpost, this manages to narrow it down quite a bit, as we see O'Neill discover something in one of the refrigerated cargo containers. Attempted murder! This would be suspect number 2, Yario. Yeah, he was in on it too, choking O'Neill until he moves no longer. But what's this? O'Neill gets the drop on him, as he just so happened to be wearing his anti-choking collar at the time. How convenient! Even better, Yario managed to reveal to O'Neill the location of the shipment of the space drugs. So what to do now?
Hey, Shepard, guess what I just found in a meat locker?
Walk into the bad guy's lair and keep them updated on exactly how far along in the investigation you are. Makes it easier for them to set up Act 3. O'Neill's like, hey Shepard, guess what? Just arrested your other goon and destroyed all the drugs you bought.
You do have a flair for the dramatic.
Was it expensive?
More than you can ever imagine.
Considering its primary use was to eke out a few percentage points of productivity at the cost of workers' lives, I'm hoping you weren't paying that much for it. Shepard tells him it ain't even that big a deal anyway, as all O'Neill has caused is a minor inconvenience. One that will require correction, though.
Marshal, you're dead. You hear me?
I hear you.
Still not quite the right time to arrest him, so let's give Shepard a chance to murder O'Neill one last time. Keeps it exciting. As Shepard is not the biggest of cheeses, but a mere cog in a corrupt machine. And the other pieces don't like how O'Neill is about to blow the lid on the whole thing. Therefore, they will send not 1, but 2 hitmen on the next shuttle to take O'Neill out. But it's not like O'Neill doesn't know. No, Shepard doesn't do something so stupid as to just walk into his office and lay out his evil plans. O'Neill actually goes through the trouble of wiretapping Shepard's communications, hearing that not only are 2 bad dudes coming, but Shepard still has someone on the inside who will spread the word of how dangerous and professional these killers are, ensuring that no one will have the balls to help O'Neill in his time of need.
He's a dead man.
Shepard, I've got to tell you, if this doesn't work out, the next guys who come for someone will be coming for you.
No sweat.
Would that really be necessary? I mean, if this guy can just spread the word around the whole outpost like, hey, I just hired 2 assassins to murder a cop, and can reliably be sure that everyone's going to be okay with this, I'm pretty sure this town is beyond being cleaned up. And Shepard's definitely onto something about how no one on this rock will stick their neck out for O'Neill, as the man ain't sitting back and doing nothing about this. He's trying to find allies, but everyone just farts around with excuses like Ballard over here, played by Clark Peters.
Most of us, most are young. You know, we have families.
I have a family.
Yeah, but not in frame. But what if they were in frame? What if, with the time until the shuttle arriving with the deadly duo counting down all the sooner, Mrs. O'Neill suddenly calls up like, hey, guess what? I love you, always have, always will, and I'm still getting the fuck out of this dreadful moon. But what you didn't know is that I bought 3 tickets back to Earth. That's right, you, me, and your son, your loving son. So please, for the love of God, just say fuck it and leave.
I can't.
Why, for God's sake?
I just can't.
And go all this way to not have a climax and have the resolution be, well, I guess things on Io will just remain shitty. This is just to establish exactly how much O'Neill wants to do what is right, despite how easy it would be to ignore all that with how his ride home is right there waiting, and oh yeah, when the shuttle of baddies arrives 40 minutes early, we quickly hammer home the fact that no, not one soul on Io is willing to stick out their neck to help him out here.
You're supposed to protect us. You're the police. It's your job. Where are your men?
My man. My men are shit.
So it's not that he's too proud to get help, the situation is just ass. Thus begins the epic final confrontation. O'Neill observes the security cameras to ascertain which of the people getting off the shuttle might be assassins. And the two who stay behind, pulling guns out of their luggage, look mighty suspicious, especially when one of them shoots him in the arm, so he must run, sneaking around the suddenly very sparsely populated dark silent hallways, ready to ambush any ne'er-do-wells that cross his path. I bet now she wishes she had slightly better bedside manner. Yeah, one bright spot in this whole situation, Dr. Lazarus is actually here to help O'Neill, helping patch up his conveniently superficial wound, and helping him to funnel the assassins to specific directions by locking off certain pathways. First things first, O'Neill needs Lazarus to trap this poor sumbitch all alone in this particular corridor, so O'Neill can cut it open from outside. Taking out one of the assassins and causing massive property damage that this shitty company is going to have to pay for. But that does leave one more hitman. O'Neill heads off to engage them while Lazarus checks the security cameras. But what's this? Sergeant Ballard is here. In support, of course, and is just, curious. Where has slippery old O'Neill run off to?
Outside where?
How the hell should I know? Maybe in the greenhouse.
So Lazarus just tells him exactly where he is. I mean, she's just guessing, but she's very accurate, and he didn't want to help earlier, but I'm sure we can trust him now. In said greenhouse, goon number 2 is searching for O'Neill, but he's just above, pulling a panel loose to trick the man into opening fire upon it, causing the structure to rupture and depressurize, killing the fuck out of the second hitman, as well as, at least several hundred innocent people at the outpost. Takes a while to grow all that food, you know? And that's when your greenhouse isn't in dire need of emergency repair. Oh well, job done. But wait! It turns out Ballard was a bastard and was in Shepard's pocket this entire time! Like most people here, but especially so. So they must do battle! Ish. Now, don't get me wrong, they are trying to kill each other to the best of their ability, but it is on layered special effects shots, wearing outfits that heavily restrict each other's movement, where falling is the greatest threat at 1/6 Earth gravity. I'm just saying, I have seen far more exciting epic final confrontations in my day. It all comes to a head when O'Neill pulls out Ballard's breathing tube, leaving him flailing about to his death. Oh, Jesus, it's like an industrial strength bug zapper. Thus, O'Neill has won. The hit squad is dead, and he even cleaned out one of the corrupt police officers. Now all that's left to do is give us one of those heroic one-liners before he takes out the big bad.
Shit. Oh, fuck it.
Good enough. Therefore, happy ending! EO is slightly less of a shithole to work in, with high repair costs and lower profits, but not as many workplace fatalities. Remember how the bad guy's shuttle came early? That means O'Neill does have plenty of time to catch a ride with his wife and son back to Earth. Nice! That also means he got all that done in about 40 minutes. Or shuttle services are slightly delayed when the body count rises, but I prefer to think he's just that punctual. Anyway, that was Outland. And man, they just don't make them like they used to. And it's funny, I can see how visually the movie was clearly doing its best to ape off the success of Alien, and while the story, as I said, is not at all Alien, that's not to say it's completely original. It's a classic Western. Not even like in the style of the genre. No, this is High Noon, just taking place in the year 2000. Despite being derivative in oh so many ways, though, the fact that it was still put together with such care to give us a world that invites the viewer in and really takes the time to make you feel like these are real people living larger-than-life lives, and yeah, nobody's perfect, but good is good and evil is evil. We don't just sit back and get told that O'Neill selflessly tries to do the right thing. We see that not only is he offered illicit bribes to not pull the lever and let the trolley keep running people down as it's always been doing, but also his wife begs for him to just come with when he's facing down probable death and a world against him. That's damn heroics you really don't see no more. But as much as I can gush about how much I loved watching this movie and how it instantly got a special place in my heart, yeah, it's still technically derivative, and the climax is a balance of over-the-top ridiculousness despite how bad it would be for innocent people, combined with the adherence to scientific principles in lieu of over-the-top excitement, which is, interesting, but it doesn't make for a gripping, epic final confrontation when it's effectively a space slap fight. At the end of the day, Outland is a fantastic flick for fans of the classics. As in the far classics. High Noon came out in 1952. Point is, it knows how to set a stage, tell a story, and the actors know how to act, and I like that on occasion. Coming in at 4 space-age unchokifier collars out of 5. If you like high stakes on the frontier, give it a watch. I don't think you'll regret it. Thank you all for watching. I have been Shado. And remember, don't do drugs to increase your productivity by a couple points at the expense of your lives, no matter how much YouTube tries to get you to do it.
My hookers are clean, some of them are good looking.
Yeah, that really did look a lot like Alien. Don't believe me? Why not check out my review of Alien? It's right there. Or this, whatever that is. I don't know. And once again, thank you all for your support on Twitch and the YouTube gaming channel. It has really meant a lot to me.